Well, welcome everyone to our November HUG event. It's all about maximizing productivity. We have Dan Moyle here. He is going to be the presenter. It's going to be an interactive event where he will share this beautiful presentation that we're looking at right now. Also, there will be a demo portion, so we'll be flipping between some screens here. In the bottom of your screen, if you're here with us live, you should see a chat button. So feel free to drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. We have Brad from Minnesota. I'm joining from North Carolina. So feel free to just chat with each other. But also, as we go through this presentation, if questions pop up about HubSpot scheduling tools, please feel free to drop those questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring, and we'll make sure Dan answers those questions for you before the end of the presentation. So we will have that Q&A time. So without further ado, we have Dan Moyle here. He's a HubSpot advisor, a trainer, a storyteller. He's got tons of experience helping different companies boost their efficiency, build trust. So Dan has a lot more to share with you about himself, about the scheduling tools, about what he does in his free time, what he does as a professional. He is here as an ally, and he'll get a bit more into that. So please feel free to share about yourself in the chat, put questions in the chat. This is a safe space for everyone, a welcoming space, a space where we're going to have some fun, we're going to learn. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, thank you for being here as well. Dan, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Thank you, Angela. And I love the reference of it's going to be live. It's going to be interactive. We're going to have some slides and also some demo time. So friends, please bear with me because this is a new thing to be able to go from a presentation into some demo stuff. So the idea today is to offer some insights into the HubSpot Meeting Scheduler tool. From personal experience, it's one of those cornerstone tools on which I build a large part of my user experience in HubSpot. I use it a ton. But the best part, even though it's a sales tool, I'm not actually in sales. So this agenda is for everyone that you see on your screen. Today, we're going to explore basic setup because even experts sometimes forget those early basics. So if you've been using the tool for a while, we'll have a little bit of a review. We're going to get into some more advanced features, some strategic implementation. We're going to add payments and even a few maybe lesser known or perhaps forgotten features. So that's what we're talking about today. But first, if you're wondering who the heck I am, as Angela mentioned, I'm a HubSpot certified trainer at Impulse Creative. I've been using HubSpot since way back in 2010. Now that's like 14 years, which is like 3 lifetimes in the HubSpot world. That was way back when you could actually call into the HubSpot office and get maybe even Dharmesh or Brian on the phone. That's a long time ago. I'm also a blended family dad working hard to be an ally to the LGBTQIA plus community, which includes both my adult children. And I've been a biker since birth, like for real. That's me right there on the picture, maybe like around 3 years old between my parents on the 1977 Harley that I was gifted when I turned 15. And then me later in August, just this year, when I took a sabbatical and went to the Tail of the Dragon down in Tennessee. So that's me in a nutshell. But enough about me. Let's get into why you're here. Time for a brief overview of the HubSpot Meetings tool. Now, as I mentioned, I use this tool all the time. HubSpot Meetings is a great scheduling solution that's easy to use. It empowers your prospects, clients, and contacts to book appointments with you or your team. I think of it as giving them the power rather than having to go back and forth, right? Meetings eliminates the hassle of those back and forth emails and time zone headaches. It integrates with Google and Office 365, both their calendars, to provide real-time availability so you don't get overscheduled. That's great. So no more waiting for emails to confirm which times are good, which risks other meetings getting scheduled over those times. It's a flippin' mess. Your team can create personalized meeting links, set up group or round robin meetings, even collect payments right there in HubSpot, and all connects back to your smart CRM. Plus, the booking tool the booking process, does enhance productivity because it syncs directly with that CRM, like I mentioned, making it easier to manage contacts and track interactions. It also allows you to dynamically add contact data to your meeting titles. That's a beautiful thing. And branding for yourself as well. So that shows up in their calendar. So a few little things we're going to talk about today. But why does it matter? Here's why. efficient scheduling in modern business, how we're all doing our jobs today, it really means a more streamlined scheduling process, enhancing communication and collaboration. So, by allowing prospects and clients to book meetings directly based on real time availability, that's going to eliminate the back and forth emails that often lead to frustration on both sides of the relationship and potentially some missed business opportunities. I mentioned the calendar integration with Google and Microsoft, so there's that. And it enhances productivity by freeing up time for teams to focus on those core activities rather than administrative tasks. That's better for revenue and customer experience both, right? Now, all of this, I think, really makes it easier on your prospects and contacts, which can significantly boost lead conversion rates, customer satisfaction, all that good stuff. HubSpot Meetings not only facilitates efficient scheduling, but it also actually supports a more professional interaction with clients, positioning your business for greater success in this ever increasing competitive landscape. So that's the why and what we're looking at today, but let's jump right into a live demo. Who's ready for some basic setup and functionality? Now, again, I'm going to be flipping through some tabs here, so I appreciate your patience. So the first thing we're going to do is simply go to meetings and create that meeting link to start with, right? So here we are in what would be a brand new portal. We've never done anything in this thing before with meetings. Over here in the left-hand navigation is your library, and there's the meeting scheduler. And when you click Get Started, it simply does it for you. It looks like it's doing nothing. It always kind of makes me pause when I'm working on this with a client, but it does take a second to actually go in. And ta-da, there we go. I'm going to set it up myself. Now, at first it says connect your calendar. That's an important step. So we click connect the calendar. We go into Google to connect it because I work on Google. I always read that and say yes when I'm ready to say yes. Go through all the steps that you don't see behind the scenes because it's in a different tab. Google wants access, or HubSpot wants access to Google. There we go. Ta-da. Now we're in. So now what that means is HubSpot looks at my calendar availability. It also books directly on my calendar. So connecting calendar is critical. Now, what I want to look at is some customization of the actual the meeting. So I'm going to go over here to this tab here, one that I've already done. Actually, I'm going to go into my meeting links because this has a bunch of them that I've already done. So my general meeting link, and this is looking ahead a little bit. I love having multiple meeting links, right? I've got general meeting link for anybody that ever talks to me and says, "Hey, I want to get on your calendar." Great, here you go. I've got internal meetings that has a little bit different availability. I've got my training, my onboarding kickoff stuff. 15 minutes with Dan. That's one of my favorite ones. We'll talk about that later. But in any case, when I go in here to edit, and you have to have a Sales Pro seat, by the way, to have multiple links, just so you know. Anybody can have a meeting link, a single one. All right, so here we are. The first thing is the overview. Your internal name, it always gives you that 15, 30, 60 minutes, which is technically correct and accurate, but it's not very descriptive. It doesn't tell me what it is. So when you have multiple links, or you have multiple team members having links, everybody's 15, 30, 60, but like that doesn't make any sense. So giving it that internal name that's very descriptive and purposeful is important. The event title, this is where we said earlier, you can have your branding and have their dynamic information as well, right? So I've got contact first name, last name, and Dan Moyle. I could say at the beginning of this, say, go at the very beginning and say, Impulse Creative Discovery with contact and Dan Moyle, right? So now all of a sudden I've got my branding in there, which I love to do. The location, you can have Google Meet, you can have Zoom, different video platforms. You can put in an actual location. You can say phone call, whatever you want. This location pushes that again into your calendar invite. Makes sense. I love to have cancel and reschedule on. Again, I want to get rid of the headache for them to say, "Hey, can we move this calendar? Can we move this this appointment, this meeting?" Sure, no problem. Let's move it to this day and this time. And they take 2 days to get back to me, or a couple hours. All of a sudden, that time is gone. Or they come back and say, "That didn't work. I want to do this instead." And I say, "I'm busy those times. Whatever. Time out." Let's not do that, right? Let's make sure that we just give them the power. So in the calendar invite, they get that need to make changes. There you go. And at the very bottom, and this is huge, the meeting type. If we are measuring the types of meetings we're having, discovery calls, demo calls, client calls, support calls, training calls, whatever we want to put in there, right? This is where we have that right there. So I can have this link, if it is specific to that type of meeting, automatically push that into the information in my CRM. Once I go through the top level, right, we've got the scheduling right here. In the scheduling title is not the internal name. It is the public facing right here. This is what the scheduling page looks like. So give them a description right there. Now, again, this is my general meeting link. So it's just meet with Dan. There you go. But if it's a discovery session or whatever you want, you can put in there. You can see here it's got my image. That's in the settings as well. That's in my HubSpot avatar. The duration options, by the way, whatever's listed first is what shows up by default right here. And I'm gonna tell you right now, as amazing as humans are, we've been to the moon and back. We've been to the depths of the ocean. We have tried to cure cancer. We're an amazing species. We're also kind of silly, kind of dum-dums occasionally. I know I am anyway. It never fails. You send someone this meeting link, and if 15 minutes is the first choice, they're going to schedule with you and then come back to you and say, hey, can we make that 30 minutes? Well, no, you should have chosen. So I always put the first one that I want to have as the default. So they can look at booking 30, or they can go over to 15 if they only want that. So they have to make a choice. So there's that. Your time zone, your availability window. Again, you have the power here, right? It's going to look at your calendar, whether it's Google or Outlook, but you have an additional layer of control here. My Google Calendar might have Fridays wide open because I do content creation and internal meetings and whatever. So if it showed Friday here, they'd be able to book it, even though I don't want external meetings. So I take Friday off, only Monday through Thursday. Maybe on Tuesdays, I leave early to go pick up my kid from school. I can make that happen so they can't book too late, right? So I love that. You can also put in working hours. That's a pretty new feature, which I really like. And then under your additional settings, some really important stuff here. Again, this is a public facing page. So you've got your avatar. When can they schedule with you? 4 weeks is plenty of time. You can go higher if you want to. Minimum notice time. Again, you get to control your calendar. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to have somebody scheduling with me an hour from now. It's going to give me a panic attack. I want a presentation right now. You can't schedule with me at like 4:00 today because I'm busy until then. I'm not going to know who you are. I want to prepare for my meetings. So I don't let you book less than 24 hours. But if you're a salesperson hungry for those calls, you're like, yeah, book with me in 5 minutes. I don't care. You can say minimum notice time is as low as 15 minutes. Okay. So you have that power. The buffer time, when one meeting ends, can they schedule right away? Or do you want to give a buffer time of 15 to help you manage your calendar? That's up to you. Start increment time every 15 minutes or whatever you'd like, every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes. Lots of power in your hands. And then you give the visitors browser settings power there. Next is schedule. Here we've got our form. And this is where it's really nice to be able to ask them questions, right? We want their name and their email. We know that. But you can also add additional contact properties. So if you want their phone number and save that to their contact record, you do that. If you want to ask them something random that doesn't need to be saved to their contact record, but is important for the meeting, this custom question puts the answer right. It fills out the form right into their calendar invite. So you get to see, for instance, I ask, can you tell me what we're meeting about today? So I know each time somebody schedules with me what we're talking about that day, but it doesn't have to go into their CRM and be overwritten, right? And maybe I want to ask them their favorite ice cream flavor because I love starting calls with, oh, you like Rocky Road? I really like chocolate. Isn't that fun? I don't know. Silly, but maybe I do. That might be one that I actually put into a custom property rather than just a custom question, because I want to say that to their CRM because maybe after a meeting, I send them a shipment of their favorite ice cream. So depending on how you're going to use that information, you can use a custom question or a contact property. CAPTCHA is there. I don't really worry about that because I don't put my links like on a public website where anybody can just go and bots can spam it. But you certainly can add CAPTCHA. It's okay. I love HubSpot. I have all the swag. Some of their stuff is like, it's all right. There are better ways to do spam prevention, but it does help. It's one layer. A new feature in the last few months, allowing guests. What that does is allow them to add up to 10 guests right there. Now, they're going to type in the emails so that those folks get added to the invite, but it does not create a contact record right away until you actually like email them all, maybe even like a confirmation, right? So it doesn't automatically create anything for you. It just adds them to that calendar invite. But that's a nice feature to be able to have them allow their guests, right? And then under additional settings, two things that I keep right here as is. I do pre-populate with known values. I want people to feel welcome when they come back, but I want them to be able to confirm and change their information. So I don't turn this on to just simply go, boom, it, auto submit when those properties have something in them. So that's what we have there. All right, I'll turn that back off so I don't have to save anything. And the last step here in the scheduling is the confirmation. And this is where it's super easy. No further action is needed. It's a pretty simple booking confirmed page. If you want something custom, you cannot customize this, but you have to have another page that you redirect to. Pretty straightforward. You can either do an external link or one of your own pages within HubSpot. So maybe you always like to have it say, it's really cool thank you page with a GIF. You can do that instead of having this pretty plain one. And the last step here is automation. Your confirmation email, of course, you send that. But those pre-meeting reminders are pretty important. Now, you might say, I want one 15 minutes ahead of time. That's cool. But I also want one, if they're going to be scheduling out 2 weeks in advance, I want to give them a reminder 1 week ahead of time. And I might even be like super cautious with my time and say 1 day before. So I remind them 3 times. Now, 3 times seems a bit, I don't know, thirsty. So I'm just going to give it a week before and 15 minutes before. I think that's fine. I'm going to say that. All right. So those are the basics when it comes to setting up your meeting scheduler. Make sure that you customize what you need to customize, add the personalization tokens in the meeting invite name, and then manage your schedule as best as you can there. So I'm going to go to back to my tab here. So that's our first little demo. So let me pause. Any questions so far? Looking over at the chat. Pretty basic, I feel like. Everybody's kind of gone through that step. If you've never used HubSpot meeting links, they're pretty user-friendly. If you've used them before or you've used Calendly or others, pretty similar. So that was fun. Basics, they're necessary. Let's get into some more advanced features. So we've got group and round-robin scheduling. Now, what I love about the groups is that you can, like, if you have a high-value B2B client, for instance, right? You want to have your major players in your company as part of that. So when your sales team or a BDR knows that this is a high-value client, this is a whale, we got to have, Mandy and Jen in there and Karen too, right? Like we have to have all 3 of them in there. We can set up a group that then looks at each one of their availabilities and finds that shared common availability, and then they can schedule with all 3 of those folks. That's a group. Pretty straightforward. But I like the use case of like a high value B2B client or meeting with a leadership team, or maybe it's a podcast interview thing that you do and you and your co-founder go on together. You can make that group meeting link. So that's good stuff. Then you've got the round robin. And again, pretty straightforward, right? This is not rocket surgery here. But the use case for that I like is sales demo calls. You've got multiple salespeople maybe on your team. It doesn't really matter who has this call. It's anybody who's available. So you set up the round robin, and when the user picks a day and time, it finds the next person in line that's available, and they get to have that calendar link. So group meeting links and round robin are both really great. Now, we're also a video reliant society. So who wants just another phone call? Not me. I want to have a video call. And I'm in Michigan, which means that I can't meet with anybody in San Diego, for instance. So I'm not having in-person meetings probably. So video calls is where it's at. Thankfully, HubSpot does connect to your Zoom business account. So each user can have their own Zoom meeting links and have their privacy and so forth. And Microsoft Teams and Google Meet. That's what we use. So as you saw in my initial demo, the live demo, we've got Google Meet connected. So that's good stuff there. When you make a meeting link, the location function includes video, and when your video meeting software is connected, it shows up there, super seamless. From there, when a contact books that meeting, the video link is added to the invite. Again, nothing you have to think about, so we love that. And finally, if you don't want your meeting link to reflect your branding, you're probably not doing marketing or sales. So if you want your meeting link to reflect your branding, HubSpot makes that easy as well. You can personalize that scheduling page with your logo and colors so it doesn't look super generic. Right? Make sure your team is using their HubSpot avatar image or a custom image. You see mine on right there. I don't think it's a requirement. There are folks who say, I don't want my picture up there. I respect that. I think it's also a really nice way to make things personal when you've got your meeting link out there. People can see who you are and they feel like they're connecting with a person, not a shadow avatar. So up to you if you want that or not. If you don't want your actual photo, you could use a cartoon or something that like vibes with your brand voice. So other options there as well. That's like the custom image. And finally, don't forget to use custom domains for meeting links, right? In your paid version of HubSpot, you want to have your domain. So instead of having like meetings.hubspot, you have your meeting link, and it's your brand and your website. So you just have to do that. To do that, you got to go settings to general, and then go to your calendar and scroll down to the meetings domain setting, and you can pull from your connected domain. So pretty straightforward there. All right. So Angela, we got a little audience participation here. Got to make sure everybody's awake. So in the chat, drop for me an idea here. How can we get folks to use our meeting link? We created a link, and now what? So drop in the chat how you think people can use the meeting link. How are we going to get it in front of folks? Either post lunch or during lunch, everybody fell asleep. This is not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. We create a link and it just sits there and everybody's like, oh yeah, I know how to find it. One of the ways is to embed it in your website, right? You've got a sales page or service page and like, hey, I want people to talk to my sales team. Boom, there you go. Emails, love that. Email signature, yep. It's a pretty straightforward one, right? You can add scheduling link to other key website pages, right? Besides just your service pages. I like including them in templates too. So we talk about the email signatures, but you can also throw it into the templates of emails. Like, you're in a sequence going out, you want to have it embedded there as well. So keep it right there in some of the templates too. The bottom of a related blog, love that. We got a great blog. We know people are really is resonating with folks. We want people to schedule a meeting with us to ask us more. It's a great idea, Angela. And Kareem, yes, adding it to a chatbot conversation, love that. Now, one of my favorite uses of getting people to schedule with me is the suggested times feature in an email. We can just add a link, but this suggested times is amazing. I love this here. And so you can see on the screen what it looks like. When I go to send an email to somebody, I can give them some choices, not just say, here, it's on you to just schedule with me. You can say, here are 3 choices. What works best for you? Now, a quick note. I referenced earlier what I said about humans being amazing, and also sometimes we miss the mark. I would include above the table of times some kind of instruction to click or tap a time that works for you so people actually book it with you. Because inevitably, I sent this out, forgotten that, and somebody will reply and say, sure, yeah, Tuesday at 6:00 works. But well, you didn't click the button that booked it, and somebody else already has. So if they were to have clicked it, it would say not available anymore, and they could choose a different time or click on my full availability. So include that in your email when you're using this. But this is great. I love this. This is one of those little kind of sneaky features that got dropped in a long time ago, I feel like now. But being able to give folks choices is really cool. All right. As President Bartlett is known to ask, what's next? Other strategic implementation tips, automations and workflows and data synchronization. Let's get into another bit of a live demo here. So I'm going to swap over to another tab. HubSpot meetings can be even more powerful when you're fully integrated with the workflow automation, right? You're going to enhance efficiency, improve follow-up processes. So here's an example. You can trigger workflows based on meeting bookings. So for instance, got one up here ready to start. The enrollment trigger would be a content who's filled out a form submission on our scheduling page. It could be at any page. It could be any form. It could be, multiple different things, or a specific form, a meetings form. Save that. So they filled out a form, and then I want to send an in-app notification and maybe assign a task, right? So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to send it to the existing owner. A new meeting has been booked. And I'm even going to say bye, and say first name, last name. Oops. Why did it do that? There we go. And y'all, I really can type, I swear. So a note about this, when you're creating some of these in-app or email notifications, this kind of thing, I like to make sure I'm trying to give some clarity as to who it is and make sure that it sets apart. Like if it just was, this was an email, for instance, a new meeting has been booked, that is going to just add up in like one conversation, and I can't see separate emails. So I like that. There's that. And then we hit save. Now, the next thing is maybe assign a task. So we know how to do that, right? Click plus, go to our CRM and create a task, and then there we go. So a pretty quick workflow that we can create, but that's kind of nice, right? You can even update properties based on the meeting type or purpose. So for instance, if this meeting was a demo, and so you know that their lifecycle stage ought to be moved to sales qualified lead, you could simply go in and again, change, edit the record to edit any property and say lifecycle stage is now going to be a sales qualified lead. Ta-da! So efficiency, getting stuff done behind the scenes. We don't have to worry about it. There we go. Okay. Pre-meeting reminders already, as you saw earlier, can go out. So that's easy. We don't have to worry about a workflow for that. What about post-meeting follow-ups, though? You could set up automated email sequences after meetings, right? You can create tasks for your sales reps to follow up within a specific time frame. So meeting has been marked as completed. 3 days later, assign a task to call them or send the presentation or whatever that looks like. You can even update deal stages or even create new deals, right? Let's say, for instance, we got a meeting. I'm going to share this one here. We've got a meeting submission, paid consulting session with me. That's going to be the trigger. And then I want to create a new record because I want to be able to create a deal. Because as soon as they set up a consulting, I want to go ahead and create a deal and measure that. So again, efficiency. Think about a time when you've talked to a prospect, they book a meeting with you, maybe it's a paid thing or whatever, and you have to go manually create the things. You got to manually figure out the time together. We have a meeting link that creates a meeting type that then creates a deal, and then we can measure that later by saying, yes, it's been completed, which then creates the task to send out the information, etc. There we go. So putting in the time ahead of time to create this stuff can help with efficiency later. So love that. This helps us to use meeting data to influence lead qualification processes. So pretty powerful stuff. And then let's look at data synchronization, right? How does meeting data integrate with HubSpot CRM? Mostly it's just seamlessly. It just happens, right? We get to leverage meeting information for sales and marketing insights. So if I look over here at this record, ta-da, I'm Dan and I'm meeting with Dan. I'm meeting with myself. Isn't there a song about dancing with myself? Anyway, meetings that get scheduled can have an outcome of scheduled and then have that change to completed, or if it's a no-show or whatever, we can do that. As we fill out that form in the meetings, it gets pushed into the CRM. Excuse me. Into the CRM properties. So that's a great data synchronization. So as I was thinking about this, a few weeks ago, as I was creating this presentation, I was thinking about some of the tips for leveraging data synchronization. So you can have, when you connect your calendar to HubSpot, meetings scheduled with contacts are automatically logged on their timeline in the CRM. So you don't have to do it. You have to manually log it. Provides a comprehensive view of all interactions with a contact, right? Including their meeting frequency and topics discussed. Now you can use this data to track engagement levels with prospects and customers. You can identify which contacts require more attention based on meeting frequency. So it helps you to think about how often you're meeting. Do they need a lot of attention? Should we increase the retainer or whatever that looks like? Analyze meeting topics to understand common pain points or areas of interest. And again, as HubSpot grows and this smart CRM becomes even smarter, we'll be able to start to use things like generative AI to say, show me patterns in this. We can look at meeting outcomes and deal stage progression, right? So for instance, after each meeting, update the CRM with key outcomes and next steps, which allows you to track how meetings impact deal progression. We can identify patterns in successful deals, like how many meetings we have to have before we close on average. And we can use meeting data to refine our sales processes and forecast more accurately. I know forecasting is a big part, especially as who knows what next year holds. We want to make sure that we have accurate forecasting. So using that meeting data can really help that. And reporting and analytics on meeting data. You can leverage HubSpot's reporting tools to gain all kinds of insights from your meeting data. Create reports on meeting frequency by deal stage to understand the typical buyer's journey. And so I want to show an example of that. Share this tab here. I went in and built a custom report, and I looked at the data sources of activities as my primary and deals as my secondary. I could add other ones there as well, but that was my start. And then I brought in the call and meeting type and what deal stage they're in and the count of activities. So in first outreach, these are the deal stages that deals are in, how many activities we have. And I'm looking, by the way, if I go up here to filter, I'm only looking at activities that are meetings. So I took out calls or notes or emails sent, and I'm only looking at the number of meetings, right? That's going to help us to figure out like how many meetings we're having with deals in certain pipeline stages. So as you can see, integrating your meeting data with your HubSpot CRM, which happens seamlessly, helps you to create a powerful feedback loop between sales activities and marketing strategies, allowing both teams to continuously refine their approaches based on real customer interactions. And isn't that what we all want? Right. So we'll get out of that one there. Now, did you know that you can add a payment link to your HubSpot meetings? So why would you want to, right? What's the point? Here are a few benefits of paid meetings. You've got streamlined payment collection, which means you're integrating payments directly into the meeting booking process. Your business can collect payment up front for meetings like consulting time or a coaching session. And this helps ensure that you're not spending time chasing payments after the meeting or delaying it until payments are made. They make the payment, they get the meeting. You don't have to follow up with them. I love that. What about enhanced customer experience? We all want better CX, right? Customers are going to enjoy a seamless and convenient payment process, allowing them to book paid meetings and pay in just a few clicks. They don't have to wait for invoices and so forth, right? The frictionless experience fosters greater satisfaction, hopefully, and encourages repeat business. And finally, when a client pays for your time up front, they're significantly more likely to show up for the scheduled meeting. Now, we shouldn't be gatekeeping all of our meetings by money, of course, but if it's consulting or coaching, this kind of a thing, if they're going to pay for it, they're going to show up, right? Their financial commitment creates that sense of accountability. So it reduces no-shows, it enhances the perceived value of your services, and it leads to more productive and engaged interactions. So that's the why. How about the how, right? Setting up paid meetings, pretty straightforward process. What you want to be able to do, I'm going to flip over to my meetings again. Go back to meetings. Dan's paid hourly call. 1 hour advisory call. Now, one of the first things you need to make sure you have a product and a payment link, right? And then once you go through your setup and so forth, you simply turn on right there the payment links, and then ta-da! It's pretty straightforward. I love this. One of my favorite things to do is, in HubSpot community, I'm pretty active, and I do have on there set up 15 minutes with me. Grab time and let's talk. If I'm answering questions and somebody has a deeper question, I'm happy to give 15 minutes. Can I pick your brain? Sure. 15 minutes is what you get. But if we go through this 15 minutes and we want to keep answering questions, I'm going to send you this link and say, hey, listen, I'd love to have a more conversation with you, but my boss wants to get paid. So let's do this. So I send this meeting link to hopefully help raise some funds for us. So that's the setup. Pretty straightforward. Got to have that payment link and just simply turn that on. Ta-da. There you go. Now, implementation strategies. In my experience, what I found is a couple of things to think about. You want to make sure that your team uses paid meetings for consultations or coaching sessions. That's an easy win, right? As I mentioned, you can have that free 15 minutes with me, then offer longer times, 50 minutes, 90 minutes, a full day workshop session for a cost. And consider offering tiered pricing options for those different meeting durations, right? From there, you can be sure that you're sharing the link, as we talked earlier, or embedding it on a service page for consulting or coaching time. Pretty straightforward. So implement those payment links. And a few best practices for meetings and payments. First of all, set clear expectations in meeting descriptions and make sure that they know it's a pay, they know they're going to a payment page next. This goes for the landing page where they're paying, but also in the actual calendar invite. For instance, if you're not offering a refund for no shows, include that in the content. You've got to make sure that they know that stuff. So set clear expectations, really important. And it's a good idea to customize the checkout experience for the clients. Include links to your social media or your email so they can get in touch when they want to, or your office phone. They can text you, whatever, your WhatsApp number. So a couple of best practices there for you. All right. A few lesser known features and maybe a few tips for you. Again, lesser known or maybe forgotten about. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to go back to this tab here and go back to my meetings. So again, different meeting durations and purposes, right? So I might have a discovery call. I want those to be an hour. And I have a sales intro call that's only going to be 15 minutes. And I've got a sales demo, not a discovery, but a demo. I know those take 90 minutes. Each one of those can be different meeting links, right? So use, especially in sales, use these meeting links. You can make a bunch of them. So use them all. Use meeting types for lead qualification. So for instance, a demo call might put that into a sales qualified lead. A discovery call might be a marketing qualified lead. You might have a whole different conversation, a leadership call, and you know that's going to be the decision maker. Make that an opportunity stage in a lead qualification. You can certainly change the lifecycle stages. Or if you're lead scoring, you might use each of those different kinds of meetings to up the score a little bit. So a couple different ways to use those. Buffer times and availability customization. When I go in here into my internal meeting links, for example, oops, I got to edit that, not click on it. I look at my scheduling. For my internal meeting links for my team, again, they can just go on my Google Calendar most likely, but if they don't know that, they have this link here. It's Monday through Friday from 8 until 5. On Fridays, I'm not meeting after 3. My brain is dead. But and they've got 30, 45, 15, an hour. I give my team, they have this meeting link, all kinds of options and all kinds of availability. My HubSpot community meeting link might be left available, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 until 2, and all they get is 15. So I keep that more locked down, right? Creating those custom availability rules for specific meeting types can really help to manage your calendar on that side as well. And now you don't have to worry about going in and blocking time in Google. You can use this here and then have your Google Calendar just be what your meetings are, right? And again, finally, I think we talked about this earlier, but if I go back over to the form, we want to make sure that we're asking the questions we need to ask in order to have the information we need. Don't ask too much, right? Customize those questions for attendees. Use that collected data to prepare for meetings. So again, if anything I should know about before our chat, make that a custom question. That's great. But if for the meeting, you need to have more information about their own marketing strategy or the tech stack or the questions they have, those can be saved. Those can be saved to the contact record, and make sure you're using those, right? If the question isn't imperative to CRM data, like as you see here, anything I should know, then make that a custom question, like I said. Okay. But those are a few of the little things that we tend to forget about using I go back to overview, the meeting type, and then you're running your own schedule and creating multiple links for different meeting kinds and the paid. So hopefully that was helpful. All right. Now, I want to throw out there that if you want to connect with me, I threw my LinkedIn into the chat, but you can find me on most social media just at Dan Moyle. You can also visit the Impulse Creative website, impulsecreative.com/Dan, to get any info, learn about my 5 to 9 life, and see my paid consulting link. And just find me in the community too, right? And of course, if you're not already in the LGBTQIA plus HUG Slack, get there. We're in there. We're active. It's amazing. I love that. So let's talk questions. And I'll go ahead and stop the share as well. Angela, what's going on out there in the chat?
Thank you. Dan, we've got a couple of questions here. So one is from Brad. We sell programs to preschool and elementary schools. We assign an instructor for each class, but not initially. Can we assign them later?
It's a really cool question. I like that use case, Brad. Here's what I would think. So if you want, you could do a round robin first of all, so that they just get who they get. Um, you can a calendar link is specific to a user. So if you're putting out a calendar link and they're scheduling with someone, that's who they'll be assigned to. You can always change that later, but the calendar itself is going to be for that person. So that's going to be the organizer. So if you're kind of thinking we don't want them to be assigned to a person in a calendar just yet, then I might think about a different way, a different form instead of the meeting scheduler. I might just use a landing page with a form to say, or a chat flow to say, tell me more, give us information, and then we'll go create that meeting for you on our calendar and send you an invite. Because that meeting scheduler is specific to a user. So,
Thank you. Brad, fun fact, I used to teach elementary school for 8 years before switching into marketing and tech. So I'm interested to hear what programs you're selling. I might know it. Another question about analytics. Have you been able to get around the issue associated with the meeting time? When you build a report, HubSpot will only display the meeting hour in a report. So if you have a meeting at 10:30 a.m., it shows up as 10 o'clock a.m.
that's fantastic. I did not know that actually. I just learned something new even as a presenter. I love learning new things. Um, so Kareem, I hope I would say that first of all, like contact HubSpot support and ask them why that is. See if they know any workarounds. Second step is I would say go to HubSpot community and look in the ideas forum, because if there isn't an idea in there to make that a better user experience, you can be the first to suggest it. And I'll tell you, the HubSpot product managers do monitor that. You don't get everything you wish for, and sometimes it takes a while. But if it's something they can do, um, they're happy to do it. And the last thing here is if you do that, share that in the LGBTQIA plus HUG community, either in Slack or in a community, or send it to the HUG leaders or whatever. The more of us who know it will upvote it and comment and get their attention. So I was not aware that it only shows up on the hour. I'm going to do a little investigation myself.
All right. We're giving Dan some homework. And feel free, we have some time left within our hour. So if there are any more questions, drop them in the chat. We have a request, Dan, for you to just review the group versus round robin meeting setup one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go back to my meetings. When you click on create a scheduling page, here's your choices: one-on-one, group, round robin. Let's say I'm setting up a round robin for a sales demo. When I click on round robin, I'm going to say this is a test, so I delete it later. Sales demo meeting. I'm the organizer, or I can actually choose to change that and say, actually, I want somebody else to be the organizer. But in any case, this would be, sales demo with, and then I'm going to personalize this. I'm going to say the account name. Then I'm going to put in parentheses and do first name and last name. There we go. Let's say, there we go. Of course, you go through all these other steps, etc. Make sure everything is correct. Choose the meeting type. This would be like a demo call. I don't have demo in there, but there you go. And then go to next. And whether I'm looking at round robin or group, this next step here is how you add your friends. I'm going to add Summer, and I'm going to add Molly, and I'm going to add Remington, and I'm going to add Amanda. There we go. So our round robin will look at all of us and find the next person. And then you just go through, the other steps, the scheduling, the automation, etc. So that would work the same basic functionality if I was doing a group, but that would then look at everybody's shared calendar behind the scenes and say, this is when everyone's available. So there's the two different ways to do it.
Thank you, Dan. If there are any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I have dropped 2 links in the chat. So the first one is a link to our HUG Slack community. That is the one Dan called out a little bit earlier. So we have a Slack workspace you can join, lots of different channels where we talk about HubSpot, tips and tricks. And we've got different channels based on roles, right? So we've got like copywriters and creatives. We have RevOps. We have MOps. We've got one for pets and plants. We have a random channel. We'll talk about upcoming events. All different discussions happening there, regardless of what you're looking for, whether it's kind of community, relationship building, or learning HubSpot, or both. We welcome you to join our Hug Slack community. Invite your friends. That's the first link. The second one, if you haven't joined our HubSpot user group yet, if you are here but haven't actually joined the Hug, haven't become a member, that is the second link. Please join that. You'll be notified of all of our future Hug events that way as well. Slack is going to be a bit more interactive, and we encourage you to join, introduce yourselves in the introduction channel. And I hope to see you there. Dan has dropped his LinkedIn in the chat. I see some of you have done that as well. I did it in the beginning. Let me drop mine again. For those of you who do not know me, I am Angela. I'm the creative director here at Digital Reach Online Solutions and our new brand, Nonprofit Tech Shops. Normally, we have our CEO, Mandy, with us. She was unable to make it today, but if you know anything about Digital Reach or you look us up on YouTube, you will see Mandy's face everywhere. Actually, let me go ahead. I'll drop her LinkedIn in the chat as well. She would love to connect with you guys. She's very active on LinkedIn. So is Dan. I recommend connecting with both of them. Mandy is very active. So if you want, value showing up in your feed, you want someone who's sharing about the newest HubSpot tips and tricks, someone who's talking about marketing, talking about all this good stuff that's going to help you in your day-to-day at work, Mandy is a great resource.
Fantastic. It looks like Brad has another question about integration to the Google Calendar.
Yep.
So Brad, if this is kind of a back in reference to like the instructors, right? The calendar has to be connected to the meeting schedule, has to be connected to a user's calendar, right? So it's not like you could create a meeting link, like Brad, you could create a meeting link and it'll connect to your calendar. If you have like a group email to all instructors kind of a thing, I don't think it would do that, right? So like if you're using one shared calendar for everyone, that might not be the best route. But if you're using, everybody has their own calendars, and then it's showing up into a view that you have in Google Calendar, then they each can have their own meeting link that they can schedule with their students and so forth. So it sounds like it might be an answer of it depends. But yeah, if you want to send me an email or connect me on LinkedIn, Brad, I'd love to have a little more conversation about it and see if we can figure out how it can work for you.
Thank you, Dan. If any more questions, if anything pops up, feel free to drop it in the chat. Also, if questions pop up later on, feel free to shoot Dan a message. Feel free to shoot me or Mandy a message. Feel free to shoot Digital Reach an email. We're happy to answer things asynchronously. If we can support you in any way, if you want to just talk shop or talk about, whether it's scheduling tools or other features, other pieces of HubSpot, we're happy to help. Brad is telling us that the company is the Science Crew. Okay, I don't know that one. I'll have to look it up. I think I might know one of your competitors, the Mystery Science. I'm not sure. Yours is probably a bit more robust. But thanks for sharing some questions, Brad. And who else? I think Kareem asked some questions. So we have a few minutes left. But again, afterwards, if things pop up, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or via email. This recording will get uploaded to YouTube at some point in the next 4 or 5 days. And once that happens, hey to the cat.
When you're a presenter, you get to show off your boy.
Yes. I've got a 60-pound dog that you cannot see right now. She would not be happy if I picked her up to show her to you. We will get this onto YouTube and we will send out an email with the recording so you can refer back to this. You can also Follow us on YouTube and you'll get notified and you can watch it whenever you want, but we will shoot out an email. So thank you for those of you who are here live. If you're watching this later, same goes to you. Feel free to email us, leave a comment on this video, reach out to Dan. Actually, for those of you who can't see the chat because you're watching this later, Dan's LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/Dan Moyle, his name, DANMOYLE. Dan, thank you so much for being here today, for giving us your time, for sharing all of your wisdom, tips, and tricks. All of these are things we can implement right away and should definitely make our lives easier and more organized. So can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. I hope it was useful for folks. I know the meeting scheduler seems to be super easy and simple and like basic, but in all reality, if we don't have the basics and the foundations, what are we doing, right? Sometimes going back to those kind of boring subjects is a lot of fun. So I hope people enjoyed it.
Like you mentioned, at some point, there's things we may have known about at one point, and then we forget about them. We don't use them as much, and we're like, why aren't I doing that? That is helpful, right? So those reminders, we could all use them. So yes, on behalf of everyone here, thank you so much. Last call for any questions. I'm seeing some thanks in the chat for you, Dan. But we hope to see all of you at our next event next quarter. Again, join our Slack community, join our HUG if you want to be notified of when that is, what it is, who's presenting it, what the topic is. It's going to be awesome. More thanks. Yes, and Dan was one of the first ones to join our Slack community. He seems to be enjoying it. So thank you for that.
Amazing.
It's especially with recent events, it's a great place to kind of come together and just chat and vent and all that good stuff. Just camaraderie, sticking together. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you on LinkedIn. We'll see you in Slack. We'll see you at the next HUG. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye, Dan. Bye, all.